Hello and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia, Makina's route. Last time, Makina spotted a bird, or rather she heard a bird and wanted to see it, and Yuuji was so kind as to lend her one of his old scopes in order for her to see it. We also had the other students at Mihama Academy's reaction to Makina getting a part-time job and expressing their concerns and thoughts in the matter. Right, let's continue. Soon evening came. Although her first shift at a new job ended some time ago, Makina hasn't returned. Amane, who suffered through the day in a state of constant distracted worry, finally broke down and called the bakery. As it turned out, the girl had left right on time some 30 minutes ago. This prompted Amane to shout, "Shwa!" and attempt a dramatic leap to her feet with a cell phone still pressed to her ear. But unfortunately the woman had been sitting on the couch with her long hair tucked under her sizable buttocks. As her head snapped back with a painful yank, Amane let out a long groan of uncertain meaning, something along the lines of "Whoa!", then turned her impotent anger on the target closest at hand. "Hey Yuuji, why didn't you pick up Makina? Get going!" "What?" "It's not like I sent the girl off for her first day at kindergarten. Makina's not a child, right? She'll come wandering back on her own eventually." Such were my honest thoughts on the matters, but faced with the sheer irritable fury in Amane's slightly teary eyes as she rubbed her scalp, I couldn't find the courage to voice them. Sighing inwardly, I pushed myself off my seat. "I'm thinking she saw some huge dog, a Great Pyrenees or a Samoyed or something like that. Then latched onto the thing and buried herself in its fur, completely losing track of time." In that scenario, the owner would have to continue walking that dog at some point, meaning Makina should come back on her own eventually. But depending on how things play out, she might tag along on the rest of the walk, following them all the way home, eventually ending up in a stranger's living room, snacking on sweet cakes and tea, a disturbingly plausible scenario. Of course, families with big poofy dogs like that tend to be fairly well off, so I doubt she'd be in much danger of a financially motivated crime. But on the other hand, there's no guarantee she won't have run into the clutches of some symbiotic multimillionaire with a twisted interest in childish young bodies. My conclusion: it would be best to swiftly track the girl down, have her thank them for the cakes, then promptly withdraw. I retrieved my private cell phone from my jacket pocket. Of course, we tried calling Makina before anything else, but our cell phone went straight to voicemail every time. Amane and I had been uncertainly pondering our next move when a savior known as Sakaki Yumiko descended from the ceiling on a golden chariot. As saviors go, she might be a bit on the cranky side, but today she brought us tidings of comfort and joy. Apparently, Makina's cell phone was equipped with a remote tracking function in case of loss or theft. We immediately set about tracking the phone's location through its GPS. As it turns out, she was keeping perfectly still in what looked like a corner of the shopping district near the station. After consulting a map, we confirmed that the girl wasn't in a residential area, just sitting by the side of a public road. Apparently my gobbling down cakes in a rich person's house hypothesis was off the mark. Given this new information, my next thought was that the girl had either dropped her cell phone or simply dozed off on the spot, but seems like it was the latter. "Makina! Hey, Makina! Wake up! Oh, she's really cute like this." Yeah. For the time being, I decided not to take the drastic smack upside the head solution to this dilemma, opting for a gentle shake of the shoulder. Makina's head sways a little in response, but there's no sign of her waking up. "Worn out from your first day on the job?" The thought leaves me a little hesitant to wake the girl up forcibly. For the moment, I decide to contact Amane on my cell. "Yes, this is the Irisu Makina Search and Retrieval Center's Director General Su Amane speaking." "This is Field Operative Kasami Yuuji. I've discovered and secured the mark." "Oh, thank goodness, you found Makina?" "Yeah, little punk's taking a nice nap on a bench in front of the station." "Did you wake her up already? Does it look like it can?" Not really. I tried calling out to her, but the girl seems to be sleeping pretty deeply. I'll wait a little longer, but it shouldn't be a problem either way. If necessary, I'll just carry her back to the dorm. Makina said there was a TV show she wanted to watch at 8 today, so make sure to get her back before then, okay? Understood. Nothing further to report. I'm ending the call. Good work out there. Alright then. Hey, Makina, can you wake up for me? Yeah. Once again, I gave Makina's shoulder a shake while calling out quietly. She does respond in the form of a dopey little grunt, but it doesn't seem to have brought her any closer to regaining consciousness. Guess I'll have to carry her back. The girl's not exactly heavy, shouldn't be much of an issue. I glanced at my watch. We've still got nearly 2 hours left until 8, and I doubt it'll take longer than 30 minutes to get back to the dorm, even if I'm carrying her on my back. More than enough time. But seriously, could you be any more defenseless? Considering the girl was kidnapped as a child, she is surprisingly incautious. Then again, there's not really much danger in a public street with heavy pedestrian traffic. At worst, you might have a wallet or bag stolen while you sleep, but in modern Japan, even that sort of petty crime isn't very common. This really is a peaceful country, but on the other hand, the apathy of the passers-by, who don't even bother to wake up a little girl dozing off in the sun, is also very typically Japanese. In any case, I can't just let the girl sleep here forever. For one thing, the longer we stay like this, the higher the odds of someone reporting some shady-looking degenerate trying to cop a feel of a sleeping kid to a friendly neighborhood police station. I should really either be waking her up immediately or getting her on my back and beating a prompt retreat, but watching Makina draw a soft, regular breath, I can't help but wanting to just let her be. I know this must sound a little strange, but I don't dislike watching women sleep. Doesn't matter if it's just a ridiculous, powerful, or crudely masculine woman, or a shaggy-headed blonde who spends every waking moment carping like she's your damn mother. When their eyes are closed and their mouths is shut, they're cute. Same goes for Makina, it seems. Normally watching the girl just makes you wonder if she's burned out a couple of 100,000 synapses in her brain, but when sleeping quietly like this, she's genuinely adorable. Oh crap, I fell asleep.
You awake, Makina?
Huh, Papa? Why are you here?
You were really taking your time getting back, so I came to pick you up.
No kidding. Sorry about that. For some reason I got really sleepy after work. Makina opens her mouth wide and lets out a high-pitched, vaguely feline yawn.
Worn out from your first day on the job?
Yeah, it was all new to me, so keeping everything straight was pretty hard, you know, but it was really fun too. Oh, she's so cute in this picture.
That's good to hear. Think you'll stick with it?
Although I've been making a conscious effort to trust Makina, was pretty worried deep down. But from the way she's talking, it sounds like she was able to concentrate on the job. You know what? I think I might kinda like working at the bakery. There was all sorts of bread and all sorts of different customers came. I talked to lots of different people today about lots of stuff.
What sort of people did you meet?
Lots of different kinds, you know, like a normal office worker lady, a mom and a kid. This Filipino lady and a girl from China and a girl from Taiwan. Oh, and a transvestite lady from Thailand too.
Sounds like you got quite the Pan-Asian clientele in there.
Yeah, I asked the owner about that. He said it's kind of hard for foreign people to buy stuff from the supermarket. I guess they go to family shops instead.
You don't say.
Come to think of it, this foreigner I knew once told me something. A while ago, the tabloids and TV news show made a habit of constantly reporting on organized criminal activity perpetrated by a small number of illegal immigrant workers. As a result, people got this fixed idea about groups of foreign shoplifters roaming the shop market, and anyone who doesn't look Japanese enough still gets the stink eye. Can make your weekly shopping trip feel really unpleasant. So anyway, I tried really hard at work and the owner gave me a whole bunch of melon buns. The paper sack Makina is clutching in her arms is packed full of pastries. Judging from the intense sweet fragrance wafting from the buns, they're still hot from the oven. My stomach was growling, so I thought about eating some on the way back, you know, but I figured I might as well eat them with everybody instead. With Papa, Amane, or Yuuji, and Sajin, and Jisujisu, the people who's always looking after me, you know. Thought I could say thanks for everything, have a melon bun, something. Hehe, but on the way back I got really sleepy all of a sudden, sort of dozed off. You know what? I'm really grateful to everybody. I always want to say thanks, but I don't really know how to get that across. But today, I kind of feel like I figured it out. If I give them the buttons and tell them I worked really hard to get these, tell them I did my best and pulled it off, they'll definitely understand how I feel, right? Oh, that smile. That's what real gratitude is. That's what being thankful really means. I think I finally get it. And that makes me happier than anything else that happened today.
I see. You did good, Makina. I'm sure they'll be happy. Like always, I drop a hand onto Makina's head and scratch vigorously, only to discover that her hair is moist with perspiration. Although it's gotten a little cooler now that the sun's sinking, napping outside on a summer day probably had something to do with it. But when I think of it as sweat the girl shed in her labors, for some reason there's a tight feeling in my chest. She really did do her best. As the thought runs through my head with a new ring of conviction, I look down to find Makina's head nodding back and forth unsteadily. Oh, no, I'm super sleepy, you know. That's alright, you can sleep. But can you get on my back first? I'll carry you to the door.
Yeah, thanks, Papa. Oh, I would love to have seen image of Yuuji carrying Makina, but sadly we don't get that. As the street fills with the pinkish glow of sunset and the cries of cicadas, I take the bag of melon buns from Makina's hands and then help her onto my back. Her body small, light and ridiculously warm as always. I can already feel my back growing damp with sweat. The girl's fast asleep before I take a single step. She breathes through her nose steadily and quietly, every exhalation tickling the nape of my neck. This habit of dozing off anywhere and any time is, as Amane puts it, probably a mild case of narc or whatever. But it's not anything unusual for me, since my big sister was just as abrupt a sleeper. I think Makina is fundamentally pretty similar to her in this respect, actually. My sister's brain ran on a higher octane fuel than most people's, but the mileage wasn't great. Sometimes she'd sleep more than 12 hours in a single day. And other times I'd look over after a brief pause in the conversation to find that she's nodded off, after which she'd wake up only a minute or two later. The only major point of difference is that she would nod off at fixed times every day. Makina is a lot less predictable, requiring much more careful attention. Anyway, from what my sister told me when I was young, the heavy sleeping was necessary so that her unconscious mind could process the large amount of information she absorbed while awake. In other words, nothing to get too worried about. Whoops. Shifting the melon buns to a precarious one-arm grip, I reach around to halt Makina's limp slide down my back. After pushing her firmly back onto my shoulders, I resume a slow, gentle walk back to the dorm, careful not to wake my passenger. When I return to the door, Makina is still clinging to my back. Amane comes out to meet us with an undistinguished relief on her face, and for some reason all of our other classmates are waiting in the lobby as well. Michiru, a vaguely crabby expression on her face, peers over my shoulder at Makina, asks, "So she fell asleep after all?" in a sarcastic tone. Then proceeds to poke at the girl's flabby little cheeks and mumble, "What a hopeless kid," and break into a smile. As for Sachi, she begins by offering me a polite bow and thanks for my efforts, then carefully removes Makina's boots one at a time, puts them away at the shoe rack at the side of the door. In their place, she takes Makina's favorite pair of slippers, the so-called terrible twins, decorated with the snarling faces of two stuffed animal tigers, and slides them onto her feet. However, since the girl's still lying limp against my back, they flop right off and fall to the ground. Sachi picks them up and puts them back on. Not that it works any better the second or third time. Clumsily earnest, as always. Maybe someday she'll figure out that brute force repetition doesn't compensate for a lack of strategy. Lastly, there's Sakai, her initially convincing show of indifference, belied by a momentary glance away from the paperback in her hand. Once her eyes find Makina sleeping on my back, she snorts softly and returns her glance to the book. I think it's safe to say she was fairly concerned about Makina too, in her own way. It's about 10 minutes after this little scene when the girl finally wakes up. Her eyes blink open in my bed, where I toss a soundly slumbering body as a temporary measure,
and quickly finds the large sack of melon buns sitting next to her pillow. Squirming out of the bed, she grabs the bag and scampers off to distribute them to the other residents of the dorm. Amane and Sachi expresses their heartfelt thanks and voices choked with tears. Michiru offers, "Well, I don't dislike melon buns," managing to convey sincere gratitude despite the standard veneer of arrogance. Even Sakaki softly closes her books with a quiet "I see," stares Makina straight in the face and says, "I'll accept that gratefully then," and proceeds to dig into the pastry right then and there. I'm honestly a little surprised at first, but come to think of it, I guess that's sort of her style. In summary, Makina's first day of part-time work, the subject of so much angst and anxiety, has come to a peaceful conclusion. And that evening, Sakaki graciously allows Makina and Amane to take the first bath. The moment the girl's out, she runs down the lobby where I've been waiting for my turn. Then drops herself onto my lap with a solid thump and turns to face the television set. "Your lap seems to have been fairly established as Maki-chan's reserved seat, Kasami-san." As I answer Sachi's teasing comment with a wry smile, Makina grabs the remote control from the table. She then flips to the channel for her favorite show. Juggling softly, Sachi places a glass of diluted Calpis in front of Makina, then makes a swift exit. Probably gone off to tidy up the mess Makina made in the bath before Sakaki makes her turn. The girl really is quite the attentive servant. Just as Sachi is disappearing up the stairs, Amane enters the lobby in the process of removing her apron. "You know, you two kinda look like a real parent and child right now." For her part, the way Amane is striking up conversation with freshly washed tableware in her hands is also oddly domestic. She's the very image of a housewife. "Do I look that old? Let's go with siblings instead." Well, what can I say? You have that crotchety whippersnappers these days side to your personality, and Makina is really immature for her age. I guess the contract works against you. With this pronouncement, Amane heads back to her room with a stack of clean plates. "Who are you calling crotchety, punk?" In the first place, it's not like I've experienced the world thoroughly enough to start passing judgment on whippersnappers. Surely Makina's unusually childish behavior is the more relevant factor. A good case in point. The girl is currently guzzling down a sweet milky drink, mesmerized by the glow of the television screen, completely oblivious to the world around her. It occurs to me that if you cut out this one moment in time, it'll look like a pretty happy little game of house. Honestly, I'm startled by my own behavior. Even though I understand that this is ultimately nothing more than a make-believe game, I can't seem to help surrendering myself to its lukewarm comforts. "Papa, Professor Dave is starting." "Ah, so it is. What's the good professor doing battle with today?" The professor in question is the host of the American documentary show Professor Dave's Amazing Animals, a man by the name of David McAllister. This fearless individual apparently puts his life on the line on a weekly basis to provide his audience with reports on various dangerous animals, a formula that's proved highly popular with his audience of bloodthirsty children. "Hey there, kids! As promised, today's show is a special on the mighty shark." Clad stylishly in the tough survival gear of a seasoned adventurer, a Hawaii shirt and cargo shorts, Professor Dave strides confidently along a beach, telling the kids in front of the TV sets all about sharks in a cheerful, enthusiastic monologue, periodically interrupted by voiceovers that seem to be strategically covering up some overly frank observations. "These last few years, sharks have had a lot of problems with their hunting grounds, so it's gotten less rare for them to wander down to the beach. We don't want our fun-filled vacation ruined by a shark attack, do we, kids? Not to worry, that's what Professor Dave's here for. Today I'm visiting this Shark World Center to teach all you kids in front of the TV how to fight back if a shark bites you." Behind Professor Dave, equipped for his mission with flip-flops and a straw hat, an image of a large building appears with the words Shark World Center in bold red letters. VoiceOver informs us that the center is an institution that looks after injured sharks who find their way into shallow coastal waters, helping them to heal and return them to the sea. Soon the scene switches to Dave peering down into a massive water tank, where a great white shark that appears to be a good 5 meters in length quietly glides to and fro. "How do you like that? This is the great white. Huge, isn't he? Alright then, let's have him bite us right away."
And as always, Professor Dave starts saying some crazy shit. Every time I watch this show, I end up thinking, isn't anyone going to stop this guy? This week is no exception, as Dave promptly leaps into the shark tank with the bleeding, raw carcass of a cow clutched to his chest. Dave's amazing! You're so amazing, Dave! I could never pull that off!
Yeah, let's not try. As if on cue, a distinguished warning, clearly inserted by some long-suffering network lawyer, flashes across the bottom of the screen. Hey kids, never try this at home. That's a promise with Professor Dave. Then again, I sort of feel like any kid stupid enough to try and imitate this stunt should be firmly roped to a hospital bed in the first place. Oh ho ho! Looks like our shark caught the scent of blood. Here it comes! Second after Dave hits the water, the great white slowly turns its massive head in the direction of the bloody carcass, then begins to steadily home in on the smell. The professor holds out a slab of raw meat to the approaching predator, who promptly takes a violent bite, beginning the experiment. Wow, this is crazy! What power! But you can't get flustered now, kids. A shark's teeth are sharp as knives. If you panic and try to pull yourself free, you'll get badly injured. The first and most important thing to remember is don't panic. And take a look at this. Can you see, kids? Here are the little spots of the tip of the shark nose. Right under there, the shark has an organ called the apulae of Lorenzini. Just give him a good whack here with your fist. Professor Dave demonstrates by launching a vigorous range of blow on the thrashing Ethioid. His hearty battle cries partially drowned out by a series of electronic bleeps. Soon enough, he's beaten the beast into an ignominious retreat. How do you like that, kids? Of course, you shouldn't go swimming in places where you might run into sharks in the first place. But if you're unlucky enough to run into one, don't panic and don't thrash around, even if he bites you. Give it to him right in his Lorenzini. Got that? Oh, I got a little wiser in the ways of the world once more. Professor Dave really is amazing, you know. This show's as over the top as ever.
But in the man's defense, Professor Dave's Amazing Animals isn't just selling cheap thrills. The latter half of the program always transitions to a serious, emotional animal story of some sort. In fact, you could call the extreme experiments in the first part of the show bait Dave uses to get the kids' attention, with the real heart of the program coming in the later half. Amazing Animals, don't touch that dial! Even the professor currently flashing a cheerful victory sign to the screen puts aside his cocky persona in the second half of his program, talking gently with an earnest expression on his face. The mini-documentary this week tells the story of a fawn that lost its parent at a young age. The camera traces the animal's struggle to get by on its own after its mother and father are eaten by lions. But in the end, it too dies, never having been taught the skills necessary to survive. Fairly harsh stuff, really. Still clenching the empty glass of Calpis in one stubby little hand, Makina stares intently at the screen, watching the little deer's final moments so quietly she almost seems to be holding her breath. Hey, Papa? What? You're not gonna die and leave me on my own, right? All of a sudden, the cheerful girl in my lap is hanging her head miserably, fat tears rolling over her cheeks. They're not tears of pity for the doomed fawn on the television set. They are selfish, fearful tears of a child comparing her own circumstances with those of that starving, lonely animal. Hey, you won't die, right? She repeats the words, her quavering voice presses me for an answer. It's not like I can possibly guarantee that. No matter what I promise the girl today, I'll die when it's my time to die. And yet, don't worry, I won't die. From what I read in these documents, Makina saw her own father die before her eyes when she was just a child, so I have no choice but to speak these words. Even if they're groundless, irresponsible lies, there's just nothing else I can do. Do I look like I'm going to kick the bucket that easily? I'll keep you safe, and I won't die no matter what. You have my word on that. Really? Yep, that's a promise. But the words alone doesn't seem to be enough to earn her trust. Makina gulps down a big shuddering breath and bites her lower lip, the tears still sliding down her face. Come on, seriously. How do I get you to stop crying? Well, if you give me a kiss, maybe I'll stop. Crafty little twerp. Where the hell did she pick that up? Wait, as if I really have to ask. I turned my eyes upwards in disgust, trying to burn a hole through the ceiling to where Amane is no doubt humming obliviously and putting away her dishes. Alright, Makina, close your eyes. Huh? Okay. Standing the girl in front of me, I wait for her eyes to fall shut, and grab her firmly around the ears with both hands and bite vigorously onto her head. Yeah! He's eating me! Men are all wolves. Play around too much and you'll get eaten right up. My point made, I resumed grinding my teeth against Makina's scalp. Yeah! Save me, Dave! What? That's right! The Ampulli of Lorenzini! Take that! Even as I gnaw away at her cranium, Makina flings up her arms in desperate resistance. Poorly developed as she may be, the girl isn't a child. And although she obliviously wasn't intending a full-force attack, one punch just so happens to land nicely on the bridge of my nose. Oh, damn it, you little punk. Yeah, I'm being stripped! Yeah. What the heck are you two doing? Is your vision going already? We're playing the Men Are All Wolves game, obviously. Why are you taking off Makina's clothes? Because I'm a wolf. Because I'm a pitiful lamb. What sort of rules do these games have? Oh, you want to join in, Qa'Rajh? Of course not. I haven't even taken my bath yet. Oh, so you're up for it once you get nice and clean? That's so not what I meant. Why the heck would I play along with this creepy rape fantasy? It's pretty thrilling, you know. But whatever, fine. You two can do whatever you want. I'm going to take a bath. Huh? Why did that girl get all red and angry all of a sudden? I don't get it. Don't ask me. Maybe that's just how sundaras are. Them sundaras sure are a pain in the ass. Have to agree with you there. By the time our little routine finally winds down, the hour's hands crawl past 10. Makina keeps watching television for a while after Professor Dave signs off, but soon enough she's nodded off in my lap. Her soft body, now completely slack against mine, is weirdly warm as always. Wish the girl could turn down her body temperature a little. Hold on to her too long and you end up overheated. What? Makina fell asleep? Yep. Guess I'll go carry her to her room and dump her in bed. When I lift Makina up off of me, her head flops over like an infant's, limbs dangling like the feelers of some torpid jellyfish. Oh, damn it. The girl's too damn limp. I can't get a decent grip. Oh, well, Makina supposedly did ballet as a kid. Maybe that's got something to do with it. Ballet? I guess it's not surprising that the daughter of a filthy rich family might get a few lessons. Actually, Makina is a lot more agile and quick on her feet than you might expect. If she was trained in ballet as a kid, that might more or less explain it. Whoops. As I finally managed to hoist Makina up into my arms, the classic bridal carry, one of her clutches tightly at my shirt. Seems to be an unconscious reflex, since the girl herself is still thoroughly out. Aha, you got caught. She might keep that up for a good 30 minutes if you're not lucky, you know. Oh, and if you try ripping her hand off, she'll instantly burst into tears. Fantastic. Guess I don't have any choice but to stay next to her until she falls asleep for real then. Why not just get in bed with her like that? Can you not say things like that so casually? And while you're at it, do me a favor and stop teaching Makina weird crap. Like what? Girl, try this. I'll stop your crying if you crying if you kiss me. Number one out on me. Sounded exactly like you, Amane. Oh, come on. Must you blame me for everything? I don't remember teaching her anything like that. Makina's brain is like a sponge, remember? Have to be careful or she'll pick up that nonsense before you know it. What's so funny? Somehow you really do seem like a dad all of a sudden. In what respect? Oh, I don't know. The way you got flustered when she asked you for a kiss? That was just the common sense reaction of the situation. Really now? So what if I asked for a kiss? What would you do then? Take out my wallet and ask how much? Oh, come on. Even I'm not going to demand money for that. You can totally kiss me if you want, okay? On the house. There's no such thing as free lunch. Jeez, you've got no guts, you know that? It's worked out for me so far. I carry my floppy burden to Amane's room on the second floor and deposit it on the bed. But just as I was warned, a good 30 minutes passed without Makina's death grip on my clothes weakening in the slightest. When the girl finally sinks into a fully fledged sleep, her hand slips free. Seizing my chance, I quietly rise from her bedside and return to my room. And that's where we'll end this episode. So, next time, we shall see what the next day will bring. But until then, take care.